What do everybody? This is Let's Be Real Brad, and today we're going on with my next 31 days of Halloween movies, and it's going to be going with my favorite horror movie of all time, and that is the original 1984 A Nightmare on Elm Street. But before we start off with this review, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. It means the world to me. You guys are liking my videos. Subscribe to the channel. You guys are the best. Nightmare on Elm Street is directed by Wes Craven, and it stars Heather Langenkamp, one of the most influential and great supernatural slasher films of all time. Stars one of the best and my personal favorite slasher villain of all time, Freddy Krueger, played by Robert Englund. This movie was a massive success, leading to so many different sequels, a crossover with Friday the 13th. So we have seen the slasher genre before up to this point, but adding this dream element to it with this really creepy, weird guy named Freddy Krueger, who has a personality that one like Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers don't particularly have. So that's what makes him more of a compelling and really conniving villain, is that he's able to speak to you, and he has more of a personality feature to him with this disgusting makeup, and the way he smiles creepily at you, and the way he sticks his tongue out of his claw, and you know exactly how he's feeling in that moment. He just wants to play around with you and kill you. Let's start off with the best elements of this movie, and that is Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. This is definitely the best element in every one of these movies. He is Freddy Krueger. I truly can't see anyone playing the way Freddy Krueger is supposed to be, being hilarious with awesome puns, great kills, and just really having such an entertaining presence every time he's on screen. Robert Englund is known to be one of the nicest actors working in Hollywood, so it's hilarious that he's one of the most evil, crazy slasher villains of all time. I think also the dream sequences are super awesome in this movie. I love how there's so many times, if you watch this for the first maybe one or two times, you don't really know when the dream sequences are happening. And that's because Wes Craven did an awesome job of going through this movie and making sure that dream sequences almost look real life to what is happening in the movie. You don't necessarily know when someone falls asleep, or did they actually fall asleep, or is they actually just up and just going about their business, and you find out it is a dream. And it happens so many times this movie, and with a ton of rewatches, you're gonna know when is a dream and when it's not. Music by Charles Bernstein is absolutely fantastic in this movie. It definitely has that dreamy feel to it that it feels like it's like a bedtime lullaby, that something I would listen to so effectively in this movie, and it's just really dark all in one. So it's definitely one that really has influenced me as a horror fan, and it's one that I like to play during the Halloween season. Love the way this movie exploits the idea of trying to take down the slasher killer in a dream, because think about it, that seems almost impossible. And it's really interesting where they take this story with these characters of the adults that aren't particularly in these other slasher films. And so when the adults are actually in here, they actually create more of a problem for these young teenagers than if they weren't there at all. They kind of get in the way of believing them. They don't even trust anything they're seeing, even though the evidence is presented to them, and some of it is clearly there. They're still in denial about the situation, as you do learn some events of why some of the characters are in denial. But it's something that does make the movie much better, but also makes it much worse when they probably should accept some of those things by the end of the film. I love the ways that our main character Nancy, played by Heather Langenkamp, does a really awesome job of just being a strong female character and looking to stop Freddy Krueger on her own. She merely does it. She gets no help from any of the characters, because the other characters don't really help her in the slightest. She's definitely the smartest one, and it makes her such a strong and compelling character. Editing and cinematography are great in this movie. I think the editing is pretty sharp. It's really well done. The cinematography is really great. I hope we do get a 4K remaster, because I think this movie would just greatly benefit from that, as I love this mistiness and this dark look to the movie, especially in those nighttime scenes. And you have all these dream sequences when they're going into these boiler rooms are all dark and red, and kills in this movie are absolutely iconic, and they're super creative. I don't want to give any of those away just in case you guys haven't seen the film, but it is truly something that when I think about this film, I think about those scenes so much. They are so bloody, they're really violent, and they just go to show that Freddy Krueger can just mess around with you, but when he wants to kill you, he's going to do it in the most diabolical way possible. And it's really scary, especially if you're more of a younger viewer that's seeing this. You're going to be truly traumatized by this film, even though this movie is over 20 years old. I love the way this movie presents the ideas of dreams and how sometimes we can make them our reality, and this insomnia aspect that many of the characters try to think that Nancy has, and they just don't believe her at all. And it just goes to show that how parents can just get away from those fears that they once had. And the movie does definitely rely on the young people seeing the fears of Freddy Krueger and how they're the ones that are truly bothered by it and not the parents. It shows that young people do that have this irritability to them. They don't understand the whole world, and they haven't gotten that whole world to them yet. And the world is a scary place. And so the adults obviously know that. And they're not scared of some guy with a claw hand going around and killing people in dreams. So it just goes to show that disconnect that many parents and kids do face in their entire lives. And they give negatives to this film. I think that by the time you get to the end of the movie, maybe the second act, some of the characters still don't believe in anything that's going on. It's a little irritating because some of it is just so insane where I don't even think you can explain that. They always find a way, oh, well, you've been hiding that the entire time. Like, no, you saw me. I was in a hospital gown. I wouldn't have this on me. You think I could claw myself on my arm like that? Do you think I have long fingernails to do that to myself? I think that'd be humanly impossible. And part of it's denial, but I also think like, hey, maybe we should probably check this out. And so I don't mind that in the beginning of the film where people are like, oh, no, it's nothing, and trying to explain it. But it comes to a point where you really gotta just be like, hey, screw it. Maybe it is real. I don't know, but I need to help the person that I love. I also think the acting is very cheesy in this movie. Most movies that I've covered, some of these older horror movies, do have that, but I think in this one they use a little bit of the younger actors in this movie, and so that their cheesiness does come off, and it's something that does have a charm to it. But I also think that the writing is solid, but it's not as great. So when you don't have as great writing with kind of cheesy and campy acting, it doesn't always hold up as well. But I think the acting doesn't truly hold me back from my enjoyment of the movie. I don't necessarily mind it, but it's something that I do notice in the back of my brain, and it's something that has to be put out there to be objective as possible. It's not one of the best ones. There's definitely more meat to the bone than I think it could have had for this film. Watch it anytime because all these movies are really fun and they're really enjoyable, especially for this original 1984 classic. I hope you guys check out this movie. I'm going to give it a strong 8 out of 10. Let me know, guys, have you guys seen the original 1984 Nightmare on Elm Street? Have you seen the new one? Have you seen the sequels? Tell me anything that you enjoy, dislike about the series. As always, I'll see you guys in the next video.